Admiral Jason Brooks stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, watching the screens with quiet fury. In front of him, the colony ship U.S. Harmony was breaking apart. Explosions rippled across its hull as Falcon fighters swooped in like hungry sharks. The Harmony had been carrying 50,000 people. Families, scientists, teachers, children, all of them traveling to build a new research station in the peaceful Rim worlds. Now they were dying. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Amy Richardson called from her station. "The rescue pods. The Vulcan fighters are shooting at them." Brooks watched as small escape pods scattered from the dying ship like seeds in the wind. The alien fighters targeted each one with ruthless precision. He could almost hear the screams through the silence of space. Dr. Martin Taylor looked up from his monitor, his face pale. "Admiral, the scan data confirms it. They hit the hospital sectors first. The schools. They weren't trying to capture the ship. They wanted to kill everyone aboard." Brooks said nothing. His hands were steady, but inside him, something cold and hard was settling into place. This wasn't the first time. Not even close. The Vulcan Empire had been attacking human ships for over a year now. Each time, Earth had shown restraint. Each time, they had tried to talk. Captain Susan Davis stepped beside him. "Sir, we could engage. The fighters don't know we're here yet." Brooks shook his head. "No, not yet." He picked up the comm unit. "This is Admiral Brooks to Earth Command. Report, U.S. Harmony destroyed. All hands lost. 50,000 civilians. This makes 47 unprovoked attacks." He paused. "Request immediate authorization for Protocol 7. The reply came quickly. President Hamilton herself was on the line. "Denied. We cannot be seen as aggressive. Continue diplomatic efforts." Brooks set down the comm. Around him, his officers showed no surprise. They had expected this answer. Earth always chose peace first. Lieutenant Sarah Miller monitored the aliens' communications. "Admiral, the Vulcan squadron is celebrating. They're laughing." Brooks studied the data streaming across his screens. The Vulcan thought humans were weak. Prey animals. Soft creatures who would run when pushed. They were wrong. Major Bill Collins joined them on the bridge. His unit had been preparing for a rescue mission that would never come. "Sir, with respect, how many times are we going to let this happen?" Brooks turned to look at each of his officers. These people had served with him for years. They had watched human ships burn. They had rescued survivors from stations that had been flattened for sport. They had counted the dead while their hands were tied by politics. "Commander Richardson," Brooks said quietly, "open a channel to all human ships in the sector." Amy's fingers danced over her controls. "Channel open." "Sir." Brooks picked up the comm again. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "All ships, this is Admiral Brooks. Standard protocol. Continue diplomatic efforts. Do not engage hostile forces. Protect and defend only when directly threatened." He cut the channel and walked to his private office just off the bridge. Once inside, he opened his personal safe and took out a secure communicator. This one didn't go through normal channels. The person who answered was someone very few people knew existed. "Yes. This is Jason Brooks. Authorization midnight." He took a breath. "It's time to start documenting our true military capacity." "Understood. How many more attacks, Admiral?" Brooks thought about the children who had been on the Harmony, the teachers, the families just trying to build a better life. Maybe one more, maybe none. When the president asks next time, we need different options to offer her. He put the communicator away and returned to the bridge. The last pieces of the Harmony were drifting apart now. The Vulcan fighters were already heading home, probably to collect medals for their brave victory against unarmed civilians. Brooks settled into his command chair. To anyone watching, he looked like a man accepting another tragedy. Another failure to protect the innocent. But something had changed in the last hour, something that would reshape how the galaxy worked. Humanity was about to stop pretending. President Elizabeth Hamilton walked into the emergency council room at 3 in the morning. Her security detail had woken her an hour ago. The news was bad. Secretary of Defense Richard Murphy stood waiting with a room full of grim faces. Screens showed the burning wreckage of the Harmony drifting in space. The numbers made it worse. 50,000 dead. How many does this make? Hamilton asked, though she already knew. 47 attacks. Madam President, Murphy answered. All unprovoked. All on civilian targets. General Patricia Wells stepped forward. She commanded Earth's military forces, but her orders had been simple for months. Defend only. Never attack first. With respect, Madam President, our restraint is being seen as weakness. Hamilton took her seat at the head of the table. Around her sat the most powerful people on Earth. Senator Kevin Adams from the Foreign Relations Committee. Director Lisa Morgan from Earth Intelligence. Dr. Frank Davis, head of Advanced Weapons Research. Each face told the same story. They were tired of watching their people die. The Vulcan think we're prey animals, said Senator Adams. His voice was hard. They hunt our ships for sport. Hamilton nodded. She knew this. The intelligence reports were clear. The Vulcan Empire saw humans as weak creatures, good for killing when bored, not worth negotiating with. We've tried every diplomatic option, said Director Morgan. She pulled up holographic displays showing years of attempted contact, trade offers, non-aggression pacts, gifts of technology. They respond to everything with violence. Dr. Davis cleared his throat. He was a small man with thick glasses, but when he spoke, everyone listened. Madam President, there are options we haven't discussed. Hamilton studied him. Frank Davis had been in charge of weapons research for 15 years. Rumors said he had projects that went beyond normal military thinking. What kind of options, Doctor? Our current military response uses about 12% of our actual capability. The room went quiet. Hamilton felt her heart skip. 12%. Yes, Mom. Our public doctrine has been peaceful expansion. We've deliberately designed our ships to appear less advanced than they really are. Our weapons systems have built-in limiters. Our tactics prioritize defense over offense. General Wells leaned forward. Are you saying we've been fighting with one hand tied behind our back? Both hands, General, and blindfolded. Senator Adams rubbed his temples. Why wasn't the council told about this before? Dr. Davis looked to Hamilton. Because previous presidents wanted plausible deniability. If the galaxy saw Earth as non-threatening, we could expand peacefully. Trade routes would stay open. Other species would trust us. Hamilton understood. The strategy had worked for decades. Humanity had spread across hundreds of worlds. They had built trade networks with dozens of alien species, all because they seemed harmless. What would full capability look like? Hamilton asked. Dr. Davis activated another display. Ship designs appeared that looked nothing like current human vessels. Energy readings that would make the Vulcan Empire's best dreadnoughts look like shuttlecraft. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact, Dr. Davis said quietly. Every colony world has hidden military bases. Every trade ship carries weapons disguised as cargo containers. Our entire fleet could reconfigure in hours. Director Morgan added, Intelligence suggests the Vulcan are planning a major offensive. They want to wipe out human presence in 3 systems. Soon. Hamilton closed her eyes. 50,000 dead today. How many more tomorrow? How many more times would Earth choose diplomacy while citizens burned? She opened her eyes and looked at each face around the table. These people had watched human ships die for a year. They had counted bodies while following orders to stay peaceful. Protocol 7, she said finally. I've heard that term before. Brief me. General Wells straightened. Protocol 7 removes all artificial limitations on human military forces. Defensive restrictions, weapons limiters, ship design consulments. Everything. Implementation time. 6 hours to begin. 72 hours for full deployment. Hamilton thought about the families on the Harmony, the children who would never make it to school, the scientists who would never make their discoveries, the future that had died with them. She looked at each council member one more time. Are we in agreement? All limitations removed. Every hand raised. Protocol 7 is authorized. Dr. Davis, General Wells, show the galaxy what humanity really looks like. As the meeting ended, Hamilton remained in her chair. In 3 days, everything would change. She hoped they weren't making a mistake. But watching human ships burn was also a mistake. At least this one would. Captain Henry Carter adjusted his diplomatic uniform one last time before walking onto the bridge of the U.S. Meridian. Today would be his final attempt to make peace with the Vulcan Empire. The ship was designed for diplomacy, not war. Smooth white hull, no visible weapons, elegant lines that spoke of peaceful intentions. Status report, he asked Lieutenant Commander Bobby Jackson, his security chief. All systems normal, Captain. We'll reach the Vulcan homeworld in 2 hours. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez joined them. She carried the official message from Earth. Her hands shook slightly as she held the sealed document. Everyone knew this was likely a suicide mission. Man, what exactly does the message say? Asked Dr. Nancy White, the ship's xenobiologist. Rodriguez opened the seal. Her voice was steady as she read. To the Vulcan Empire, Earth demands an immediate end to all hostilities against human ships and settlements. You have 72 hours to comply. This is our final warning. Jackson whistled low. That's it. No threats. No consequences. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Those were added by Earth Command. The real message continues. Stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be polite. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what those words really meant. 2 hours later, they arrived at Vraxtor, the Vulcan homeworld. The planet was covered in massive cities and military installations. Ships filled the orbital space around it like a metal shell. Incoming transmission, reported Communications Officer Lisa Taylor. Emperor Thexka himself appeared on screen. He was a massive creature, 8 feet tall with armored skin and fangs as long as knives. Behind him stood War Commander Zechtel and the Vulcan High Council. Humans, Thexka growled. You dare come here after your people burned at the rim worlds. Carter stood straight. Your Excellency, I bring a message from Earth. Thexka laughed. It sounded like rocks breaking. A message? Let me save you time, little prey. We will destroy every human ship we find. Your colonies will burn. Your homeworld will be next. Rodriguez stepped forward. Perhaps you should read the message first. She held out the document. War Commander Zechtel snorted. We know what it says. Surrender. Pay tribute. Accept your place as our hunting animals. The answer is no. Actually, Rodriguez said calmly, it says something quite different. She began reading the message aloud. As she spoke, the Vulcan Council started laughing. By the time she finished, they were roaring with amusement. Stop pretending to be polite. Thexka wheezed. What will you do? Send more unarmed ships? More doctors and teachers for us to hunt? Commander Jackson moved slightly behind Carter. His hand rested near his sidearm. Captain, they're bringing weapons online. Carter nodded. He had expected this. Your answer is no. Our answer, said Zechtel, is this. He gave a signal. On the Meridian, alarms began blaring. Captain, shouted Lieutenant Paul Miller from the weapons console. Incoming fire from all directions. They've surrounded us. Carter turned to his crew. Abandon ship. All hands to escape pods. Now. The bridge erupted in activity. Energy beams struck the Meridian from every side. The ship's hull cracked and burned. Jackson grabbed Carter's arm. Sir, the pods are being targeted too. Carter watched his ship die around him. Through the viewports, he could see Vulcan fighters swooping in like predators. They were hunting the escape pods for sport. Jackson, Carter said as they ran toward the escape pods. "Send the message." Jackson's fingers flew over his communicator. He sent a simple code. "Delivery confirmed. Rejected with prejudice." They made it to an escape pod just as the ship's main hull exploded. As their little craft tumbled away from the wreckage, Captain Carter watched the Vulcan fighters give chase. Soon, they would all be dead. But the message would reach Earth. Thousands of light years away, Admiral Susan Clark received the code aboard the battleship U.S. Vengeance. She looked at the data one more time. Carter and his crew were dead. The Vulcan had given their final answer. She opened a secure channel. "This is Admiral Clark. Authorization Code 7. Begin implementation." The die was cast. Humanity was done being polite. Commander Daniel Moore sat in the captain's chair of the U.S. Ghost, staring at the message that had just arrived. Protocol 7. He had trained for this moment for 10 years, but he never thought it would really happen. "All hands, this is the captain," he announced over the ship's comm. "Lock down all stations. We're about to drop the mask." Around him, his crew moved with practiced precision. They had drilled for this countless times. Lieutenant Jennifer Hayes at the navigation console began entering new commands. Engineer Rachel Green's fingers flew over her controls at the power station. "Sir, shall I begin?" asked Green. Moore nodded. "Do it." Green pressed a sequence of buttons. Deep in the ship's core, systems that had been dormant for years began to wake up. Warning lights flashed as power levels climbed. "Power at 50%, Green reported. "Limiters disengaging." The ship shuddered. Around them, panels that had looked like decorative walls began to slide aside. Hidden behind them were weapons systems that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen from human ships. 75%, Green called out. Main systems coming online. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Steve Fisher watched his tactical display transform. Ships that he had tracked as simple cargo haulers were suddenly showing massive energy signatures. Vessels that appeared to be civilian transports were revealing weapon arrays that could level cities. "Sir," said Communications Officer Amy Johnson, "we're receiving similar reports from the entire human fleet." Moore nodded. Across human space, hundreds of ships were undergoing the same transformation. The U.S. Thunder, which the Vulcan thought was a simple cruiser, was revealing itself as a battleship. The U.S. Lightning, disguised as a science vessel, was actually a weapons testing platform. 100%, sir, Green announced. All systems optimal. The Ghost was no longer the same ship. Its sleek hull had reconfigured, revealing armor plating that could withstand antimatter explosions. Weapons that had been hidden as sensor arrays now hummed with lethal energy. Captain Laura Davis on the U.S. Tempest was going through the same process. Her ship had spent months pretending to be a colonial transport. Now it revealed its true nature as a stealth assault vessel. Hidden compartments opened to show fighter bays filled with advanced combat craft. "Sir," said her tactical officer, Lieutenant Mike Phillips, "long-range sensors detect Vulcan patrol ships 2 sectors away. They have no idea we're here." Davis smiled coldly. "Let's keep it that way. For now." Across the galaxy, Admiral Nancy White coordinated the transformation from her flagship, the U.S. Defiant. Her command center showed the true scope of human military might for the first time in decades. "Report," she ordered. Colonel Timothy Rogers stepped forward. "All ships confirm Protocol 7 is active. We're reading power signatures 3 to 5 times previous levels. Weapons systems are fully deployed. Fighter squadrons. All wings report ready. The new combat configurations are operational." White studied the tactical display. Each human ship now showed its real capabilities. Vessels that the aliens thought were weak and outdated were actually more advanced than anything in known space. "Ma'am," said Intelligence Officer Brian Kelly, "we're intercepting Vulcan communications. They're planning a major assault on the Rigel colony. 50 ships." White's expression didn't change. "When?" 6 hours. She turned to Rogers. Send a message to the Rigel Defense Force. Tell them to stand down. We'll handle this ourselves. Ma'am, the colonists will be defenseless. No, White said quietly. They won't be. She activated her command console. All ships, this is Admiral White. New orders. Vulcan forces approaching Rigel system. Time to field test our actual capabilities. Around her, the bridge crew shared knowing looks. They had spent years pretending to be peaceful traders and explorers. Years watching alien forces treat them like prey. That was over now. Sir, asked Weapons Officer Paul Chen, rules of engagement. White thought about the families on the Harmony. The children who had died while fleeing in escape pods, Captain Carter and his crew, murdered for trying to make peace. The gloves are off, gentlemen. Show the Vulcan what human ships can really do. Captain Robert Young stood on the bridge of the U.S. Thunder as it approached the Rigel system. Through the viewports, he could see the Vulcan fleet waiting. 50 ships arranged in their classic attack formation. Supreme Admiral Vex Moore commanded from his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. Sir, called Lieutenant Kelly Foster from the weapons station, the Vulcan are hailing us. Put them through, Young replied. Vex Moore's face appeared on screen. He was old even for a Vulcan, with scars covering his armored hide. His voice carried the confidence of 1,000 victories. Human ship, surrender now. You are outnumbered 50-1. We will make your deaths quick. Young smiled. Thank you for the offer. Admiral, I have a counter-proposal. You have 10 seconds to retreat. Otherwise, we demonstrate why Earth stopped answering your attacks with diplomacy. Vex Moore laughed until his sides shook. 1 human ship against our entire battle group. You are insane. 9 seconds, Young said calmly. Lieutenant Foster's hands moved over her controls. Deep in the ship, weapons systems hummed to life. You humans are all the same. Weak, foolish. We will add your ship to our. Time's up, Young interrupted. Foster pressed a single button. The Thunder's hull transformed instantly. Panels slid away, revealing weapons that had been hidden for years. Power crystals emerged from what looked like cargo holds. The ship's size seemed to double as hidden sections extended outward. Energy beams lanced out from the Thunder with precision that made Vulcan weapons look like toys. The first 3 enemy ships exploded before they could even raise shields. Impossible, roared Vex Moore. What are you? We're humans who are tired of pretending to be weak, Young replied. Colonel Timothy Rogers led the Thunder's Special Forces unit as they boarded disabled Vulcan ships. The enemy crew expected to fight humans in basic armor with simple weapons. Instead, they faced soldiers in powered exoskeletons with technology beyond Vulcan understanding. Sir, Rogers reported back, their ships are centuries behind our real technology. This isn't even a contest. Young watched the battle unfold. Foster's weapon systems targeted 50 ships at once. Each shot was calculated to disable rather than destroy. The Vulcan had expected to massacre helpless humans. Instead, they found their ships torn apart by surgical precision. Shields down on ships 7 through 12, Foster reported. Main weapons disabled on the enemy flagship. Young activated ship-wide communication. This is Captain Young to all hands. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to send a message. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it ended, 40 Vulcan ships drifted helplessly in space. Their weapons were gone. Their engines were dead. But their crews lived. Vex Moore's face reappeared on screen. His confidence was gone. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead where he had fallen when his ship was hit. What? What are you? He whispered. Young's voice was steady. We are the species you have been attacking for months. We are the people you thought were prey. We are humans who have been trying very hard to be polite. But your ships, they were so weak. No, Young corrected. We were being peaceful. There's a difference. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mitchell stepped forward. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from 11 different alien species. They're asking about what just happened here. Yum nodded. Word traveled fast in space. Every military in the galaxy had been monitoring this battle. They had all expected to watch humans die. Instead, they had watched the Vulcan Empire's best fleet get crushed by a single human ship. Send this message to all monitoring stations, Yum ordered. This is what happens when you attack our civilians. This is what happens when you ignore our diplomatic warnings. This is what happens when humans stop pretending to be polite. He paused and looked at Vexmore one more time. Tell your Emperor, this was just one ship. Would he like to see what our fleet can do? The transmission ended. Around them, space was full of drifting Vulcan vessels, none destroyed, all helpless. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't interested in genocide. They were interested in respect, and they had just shown the galaxy exactly how to earn that respect. Admiral Janet Smith stood on the bridge of the U.S. Harbinger as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. News of the Battle of Rigel had spread faster than anyone expected. The Xerian Collective was the first to react. Incoming priority transmission from Xerian Central Command, announced Communications Officer Peter Davis. High Chancellor Kex Terry appeared on screen. The Xerian were an old race, allies with many but enemies to none. They had survived by being careful about who they angered. Admiral Smith, I speak for the Xerian Collective. We wish to discuss a formal alliance with Earth. Smith raised an eyebrow. Yesterday, you wouldn't answer our calls. Yesterday, we thought you were a minor species who built pretty ships. Today, we realize those pretty ships can destroy entire fleets. The Collective votes to offer you full military partnership. Before Smith could respond, another signal came in. Ambassador Roger Phillips appeared on screen from the diplomatic station orbiting Alpha Prime. Admiral, I've got representatives from 12 species here. They all want to talk. The Andromedans brought their entire High Council. The Spiral Federation is offering trade agreements. The Machine Empire just sent a peace treaty. Smith nodded. What about the species that were ignoring us? They're the ones most eager to talk now, Phillips replied. The Ta Union wants to apologize for their closed borders. The crystal entity asked if we need anything. Anything at all. On the tactical display, Commander Grace Turner pointed to new contacts. Ma'am, we're detecting ships throughout human space, but they're not attacking. They're watching. Smith activated the long-range scanners. Alien vessels from a dozen different species hung at the edges of human systems, all of them keeping a respectful distance. They're studying us, Smith realized, trying to figure out what else they don't know about humans. Captain Donald Lee appeared on screen from the U.S. Tempest. His ship had been conducting stealth operations deep in Vulcan space for months. Admiral, we've been monitoring Vulcan communications. The Empire is in chaos. Some planets are surrendering without being asked. Others are demanding to know why they weren't told humans were so dangerous. Lieutenant Commander Angela Wilson brought up intelligence reports. Ma'am, 17 alien military forces have changed their patrol routes. They're avoiding human space entirely. Smith walked to the viewport. She could see 3 alien ships in the distance, watching the human fleet with obvious caution. A week ago, those same ships would have barely acknowledged human existence. Admiral, called Ensign Robert Garcia from the intelligence station, we're intercepting coded messages between the Centauri Coalition and the Hegemony. They're discussing human military capabilities. The word terrifying appears a lot. Smith's tactical officer, Major Lisa Nelson, pulled up a tactical display. Ma'am, we're getting requests for meetings from everywhere. The Void Wanderers want to discuss territorial boundaries. The Star Callers are asking about our weapon systems. The Silent Ones just sent their first message to any species in 50 years. They want to make sure we're not hostile to them. Smith shook her head in amazement. For decades, Earth had tried to join the galactic community as equals. They had offered trade, shared technology, sought partnerships. Most species treated them like harmless newcomers. Now everything was different. "Sir," said Lieutenant Kevin Martinez from the communication station, "we're receiving a message from, well, it's marked as being from the Forgotten Fleet." Smith paused. The Forgotten Fleet was a legend. Ships that supposedly patrolled the deep void, protecting known space from things that lived in the outer darkness. Most people believed they were a myth. Put it through. The image that appeared was fuzzy. In it, a figure in ancient armor spoke in a voice like distant thunder. "Humans of Earth, we have watched your revelation. You have chosen to reveal your strength while showing restraint. This is wisdom. The outer darkness notices all things, but it respects strength guided by peace." The message ended. Smith looked at her crew. In 3 days, humanity had gone from being ignored to being feared, respected, and carefully watched by the entire galaxy. "Sir," asked Commander Turner, "what do we do now?" Smith smiled. Now we ask the galaxy a simple question. Are you ready to talk properly?" Emperor Thexka stood in his war room, surrounded by the greatest military minds in the Vulcan Empire. Maps showed the positions of their forces across the galaxy. 10,000 ships, the largest fleet the Empire had ever assembled. War Commander Zechtel pointed to the display. "My Emperor, our spies confirm it. The humans have only 700 ships total. We outnumber them 15 to 1. General Vorth nodded agreement. "Their trick at Rigel was impressive, but they cannot defeat our full might. We will crush them through sheer numbers." Emperor Thexka studied the reports. The human ship at Rigel had been powerful, yes, but one ship could not win a war. Humans are clever with their hiding. Their technology surprises us, but they are still weak flesh. We are Vulcan. We have conquered 100 worlds. "Exactly, my Emperor," said Admiral Kexmore. "Let them reveal their weapons. Let them show their real ships. Numbers will still win. 1,000 arrows will bring down even the strongest prey." The Emperor's decision was final. Mobilize everything. Every ship. Every warrior. We will gather at Thexmore Prime, and then strike at Earth itself. We will end this war with one massive blow. A day later, Admiral Carol Davis received the intelligence report aboard her flagship, the U.S. Zeus. The Vulcan Empire was moving its entire military force. 10,000 ships. Asked Captain Bruce Wilson, commander of the U.S. Atlas. His ship was part of the human defense fleet gathering near Earth. "Confirmed," Davis replied. "Every military vessel the Vulcan Empire has built in the last 100 years. Dr. Helen Mitchell, Earth's top weapons scientist, stood at a control station covered in displays. "Admiral, perhaps it's time for full disclosure protocol." Davis nodded. "Agreed. Doctor, show our allies what we've really been building." Across human space, hidden installations began to activate. On Luna, massive doors opened in what everyone thought were mining operations. Inside, ship after ship emerged. Vessels that dwarfed anything humanity had shown before. Captain Marie Taylor watched from the bridge of the U.S. Titan as it rose from its hidden bay beneath the surface of Europa. The ship was 3 kilometers long. Its weapons systems had been tested only in computer simulations. "Sir," called Lieutenant Commander Jack Foster, "power readings are stable. All systems showing green." Taylor smiled grimly. "Good. We've hidden long enough." The U.S. Phoenix lifted from a concealed base on Mars. The U.S. Leviathan emerged from the asteroid belt, where it had been disguised as a small moon. Ship after ship revealed itself from hiding places throughout the solar system. Admiral Davis watched as her fleet multiplied. "Status report. 700 ships confirmed online," Admiral, reported Commander Lisa Anderson. "All hidden reserves now revealed. Full combat power available." But Davis wasn't finished. "Dr. Mitchell, activate the Titans." Mitchell's fingers danced over her controls. Around Earth, space itself seemed to shimmer. Massive shapes began to form, ships that made even the Titan look small. "My God," whispered Wilson as he stared at the emerging vessels. "Those aren't ships, they're moving cities." The U.S. Cosmos materialized first. 5 kilometers of pure military power. Its single weapon could crack a planet's surface. The U.S. Infinity followed, its hull gleaming with metal that bent light around it. "Admiral," Mitchell announced, "all 12 Titan-class vessels are operational. Full disclosure protocol complete." Davis turned to the display showing the approaching Vulcan fleet. 10,000 ships against what the aliens thought was 700. They were wrong. "Open a channel to Emperor Thexka," Davis ordered. The Emperor's face appeared, confident and cruel. "Human Admiral, you will surrender now. Our fleet will arrive in 6 hours. You have no hope." Davis looked at him calmly. "Your Excellency, I have a question. When your spies counted our ships, did they count the ones we hid?" Thexka laughed. "What difference does it make? You cannot hide an entire fleet." "Actually," Davis said, "we can. Computer, show the Emperor our real numbers." The display updated. Where it had shown 700 human ships, new numbers appeared. 1,000, 2,000, 7,000. The count kept climbing. "Impossible," roared Thexka. "Your empire has spent centuries building weapons," Davis continued. "We spent those same centuries building something else. Patience, planning. And when we finally decided to build weapons," she gestured to the massive ships now visible around Earth. The final count appeared. 12,000 ships. Davis's voice was soft as silk. "Your Excellency, you still have time to surrender. We'd rather not demonstrate what 12,000 years of careful preparation looks like." The transmission ended with Emperor Thexka's face showing something no. The battle above the Vulcan homeworld lasted 23 minutes. That wasn't the time it took for humanity to win. That was how long Emperor Thexka watched his empire crumble before surrendering. Admiral Carol Davis stood on the bridge of the U.S. Zeus as the final Vulcan ships powered down their weapons. Around her, the human fleet maintained perfect formation. Not a single Earth vessel had been destroyed. "Report," she ordered. "Emperor Thexka is broadcasting on all frequencies," said Communications Officer Paul Newman. "He's ordering all Vulcan forces to cease hostilities immediately." Captain Bruce Wilson appeared on screen from the U.S. Atlas. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from 400 Vulcan worlds. Their military commanders are standing down without being asked." Davis nodded. She turned to Dr. Helen Mitchell, who was monitoring the tactical displays. "Doctor, what's our real capability versus what we use today?" Mitchell checked her readings. "We operated at approximately 30% capacity, Admiral. The Vulcan never forced us to use our full power." President Elizabeth Hamilton's voice came through from Earth. "Admiral Davis, this is the President. You've done well. Begin the next phase." Davis activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, implement peace protocol. We're now running protection, not destruction." Within hours, human vessels were positioning themselves throughout Vulcan space, but they weren't there as conquerors. They formed a protective barrier. Captain Mary Taylor commanded the U.S. Shepherd as it took station between the Vulcan homeworld and the Andromedans. "Ma'am," asked Lieutenant David Scott, "why are we protecting them?" "They were trying to kill us 6 hours ago." Taylor looked at the readings showing Andromedan ships approaching Vulcan space. "Because, Lieutenant, that's what civilized people do. We don't let others feast on the defeated." Admiral Davis broadcast a message across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Carol Davis of Earth Command. The war with the Vulcan Empire is over. They have surrendered unconditionally. Any species attempting to take advantage of their weakened state will deal with us." The message was simple, but the implications were clear. Humanity wasn't interested in conquest. They were interested in order. Emperor Thexka was taken aboard the U.S. Zeus for the formal surrender. As he walked through the ship's corridors, he saw things that terrified him more than the weapons had. Medical bays where Vulcan wounded were being treated by human doctors. Refugee camps being organized for Vulcan civilians. Relief supplies being prepared for Vulcan worlds. Why? He asked Admiral Davis when they met. Why show mercy to your enemies? Davis looked at him calmly. Because strength without mercy is just bullying. We're not bullies, Your Excellency. We're humans who prefer peace. The formal surrender was simple. The Vulcan Empire would cease all military action. They would respect the territorial rights of all species. They would no longer attack civilian vessels. In return, Earth would protect Vulcan space from invasion by others. Human medical teams would help repair the damage from the war. Trade routes would remain open. 6 months later, Captain Robert Young stood on the bridge of a new kind of ship. The U.S. Guardian was the first of the Protector-class vessels. Unlike the hidden warships, these ships were designed to be seen. Their purpose was clear: to keep the peace. "Sir," called Lieutenant Kelly Foster, "we have a report from the Syrian border. Some pirates are raiding trade ships." Young smiled. "Well then, Lieutenant, let's go remind them that piracy isn't tolerated in civilized space." The U.S. Guardian jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Earth's new embassy on the Vulcan homeworld opened its doors. Humans and Vulcan worked together to rebuild what war had broken. Admiral Davis's final report to Earth was simple. Mission accomplished. The galaxy now understands that humanity chooses to be polite. When we stop making that choice, consequences follow. Most species prefer to keep us polite. The war was over. The peace was just beginning. And everyone in the galaxy knew exactly where they stood with humanity. Game over. Humans had won without becoming monsters. The best kind of victory.